I, 28 female, and my boyfriend, 28, have been seeing each other for only about 3 weeks, an admittedly short amount of time. Boyfriend has a bio child, Marco, toddler male, with an ex-girlfriend, and she has a son, Paul, preschooler male, from her previous relationship. The issue arises, however, with Paul and the mother's expectations involving this child. His dad is a deadbeat who lives out of town and has never been in Paul's life. Boyfriend spent about 3 years in Paul's life as a male adult figure while in a relationship with baby mama. Since they've split, he only sees Paul if he happens to be with Marco. Last night, baby mama contacted my boyfriend and told him, "You're taking the boys tonight," which upset him. He said he struggles to care for 2 children on his own and can't afford it. Confused, I asked, "I thought only Marco was yours." He confirmed only Marco was his, but he feels responsible for Paul as he was involved in his life from a young age. We discussed Paul's father and I expressed my distaste for fathers who don't step up for their own children. I said something along the lines of, "Why does his dad have no responsibility? He should be feeling this obligation, not you." Boyfriend then told his ex he would take Marco with absolutely no issue, but said he would no longer be held responsible for Paul. Ex said, "Cool, you're never seeing your son again." Then threatened to call local childcare organisations and has been blasting my boyfriend on Facebook, calling him a deadbeat dad. I'm a childless woman and I won't even begin to pretend I understand how complicated her situation must be. However, I'm childless because I choose to be, meaning I've never just been like, "Whoops, I guess I'm pregnant," and have always found it fairly easy not to get knocked up. So I have little sympathy for this next detail. She's pregnant with a 3rd child from a 3rd baby daddy and has no idea who it is, and fully expects my boyfriend to care for this new 3rd child. Only she conceived after they broke up with another man. It's clear to me that this woman will expect her boyfriend to pay for and care for any child she has now or in the future because he's a good man. To her, it has nothing to do with who was there for Paul or Marco. It's who will pay the child support. Maybe I should have just practiced shutting my mouth. I feel like my comment was the final straw in his mind over Paul, like a final validation. I'm worried I should have been quiet. But I was genuinely just making light conversation. I never said, "You should do X, Y, Z." I also really hate that because he wouldn't take both children, he wasn't permitted to see his child. Am I the idiot? Does everyone here suck? Should I have kept my comment to myself? Edit, my issue is I never want to give birth. Issues with health, etc., but I want to be a mom, so I'm willing to put up with the single dad drama to an extent. Not the idiot. This isn't standard single dad drama. This is another grown adult woman demanding money and time from your partner for 2 or 3 kids that aren't his. She's definitely been taking advantage of boyfriend being a wonderful father. On the other hand, the boyfriend needs to lawyer up, get a paternity test and get formal custody set in place. But you gotta decide if this amount of drama is worth a relationship. As a stepmom, let me advise you that life will be a nightmare with an emotionally unstable and demanding bio mom in the mix. I adore my stepson, who I met when he was 3 and is now 45, and we're very close. But his mom? Good lord. He's no contact with her now, but we had 35 years of a sheer living nightmare with her. So please, please, please take lots of time before emotionally committing to your current arrangement. Take it slow. It will probably not get easier over time. This. Your boyfriend could emotionally provide for Paul since he's been in his life, but his financial obligation is to Marco. Cutting off the non-bio kid emotionally would be cruel, but he needs an order in place to outline his financial responsibility only to his own child. However, OP, are you 100% sure the new baby isn't your boyfriend's? You've not been together very long. Everyone's the idiot here. As a girlfriend of 3 weeks, it really wasn't your place to question how he chooses to structure his family. He's been a father figure to the little boy for 3 years. Withdrawing financial support and no longer seeing the boy who looked up to him as a dad so abruptly was an idiot move on your boyfriend's part. If he wanted to step back, there were ways to do that gradually or less confusingly to the poor kid. Obviously, the mom is the worst. 3 kids by 3 baby daddies and expecting one to support them all is crazy. She doesn't seem like a responsible woman. Oof, this is already a mess. You're only 3 weeks into a relationship with him. I, 20 female, had to do a group presentation as part of my end-year assignment, and I think it mostly went great. The presentation was 15 minutes minimum with a 15-minute question session afterward. However, there's one guy in my course, John, 21, who many people dislike. He's the epitome of a well-actually guy who likes to be the devil's advocate for things that shouldn't have a devil's advocate. He's embarrassed himself more than once by asking ridiculous and pointless questions to our professors that have no relevance, and he's very full of himself. I know this may all seem harsh, but this behaviour has been consistent for the past 2 years. His smarminess has isolated him from many people in our course who don't want to deal with him. After our presentation, he said he had several questions, and then proceeded to ask some of the most irrelevant questions. For example, in the presentation, I mentioned that one of my inspirations for the project was a trend in 2020 where grown men, usually 30 to 40-year-olds, would duet teenage girls' TikTok mocking them, from how they like their coffee to their prom dresses. John asked, "Don't you think teens should get criticism for posting online?" Not only was this not relevant to the project, but you could sense the tension in the room. So many people rolled their eyes, and even his friend gave him a shut up nudge. After a few more questions directed at me, not the other 3 men in the group, I admittedly got annoyed and said, "Listen mate, I'm not going to answer any more questions from you. You're clearly trying to grasp at straws here." The rest of the questions from our other peers were great and actually of substance, and overall the whole thing went well, other than that one hiccup. As we were leaving the hall, I heard John complaining to some of his friends, and then I saw him talking to our lecturer. I got an email from our professor asking me to join a Teams meeting where I was expected to apologise for embarrassing John and something about how we were supposed to create a safe space for our fellow peers, and by being rude I didn't do that. He said if we can sort it out before Thursday, tomorrow, by ourselves, then excellent. So I sent John a quick message saying I didn't mean to be short with him, but he clearly was asking pointless questions. He replied, "You didn't have to be such a witch about it," and then blocked me. Am I the idiot? Edit, he doesn't get along with guys or gals, but I was the only girl in my group and all his questions were directed at me. The theme of our project was, ironically, female rage and inequality. These were John's 3 questions. What's the relevance of the topic? Your investment in this project is silly. I don't understand why this means so much to you. Don't you think the teens who post on TikTok deserve criticism? I thought what a ridiculous thing for you to get into trouble for, until I saw that he called you a witch and I realised you're a woman. If a man had shut him down, there would be no further action from anyone. He needs a safe space. You were creating a safe space by preventing all the eyeballs in the classroom from being permanently stuck in the reverse position. You are not the idiot. Make sure you screen call him calling you a witch. Write down the questions John was asking as exactly as possible. If you can, get help from others present. Ask them how they felt about John's questions. Take this to the Teams meeting, say you responded to several of them. However, they had no direct relevance to the project, there were only 15 minutes for questions, and you felt that John was not creating a safe space for the others in the room by asking these questions. Read out your approach to him and his reply. Ask how much time John should have got for those questions and how you should have replied in answer to them. Ask how you could have created a safe space for the whole group. In addition to the other great suggestions defending your comment, wait until the end of the call and ask the professor if you may now receive an apology from him for calling you a witch when you reached out to resolve the issue personally. Then wait. Refrain from saying anything to follow up. Just hold eye contact. Oh, and please update. Please. My sister Betsy, 45, asked me, 43 female, to be a bridesmaid for her wedding. I said yes, and I was happy to be asked, especially since I missed her first wedding because I was deployed. Her first wedding was in 2004. I was on my second tour and couldn't make it even though I wanted to attend. I know about her first wedding because our youngest sister, 41, was a bridesmaid. She's a bridesmaid in this one and talks about the differences all the time. Recently, I told her that she was asking too much and getting too expensive. Example, the bridesmaid dress and the shoes will cost me $500. Betsy is planning an international trip, Las Vegas, for her bachelorette party, so there's the flight, hotel, etc. They already had an engagement party, my sister is throwing a bridal shower on top of it. Plus, the cheapest option on their registry is $165. Now they decided to have a resort wedding in the Caribbean instead of getting married here, so that's another trip and flight and hotel. I'm hearing similar complaints from her fiancé's wedding party members, especially because it's his second wedding too. So many families and friends are feeling put out about being asked to give 3 different gifts and now having the wedding moved to another country. My sister never had any of this with her first wedding. The wedding was here, and so was the bachelorette party. Guests were only asked to give 1 gift, a wedding gift, and attend 1 party, the actual wedding. My sister paid for the bridesmaid dresses too. When I agreed to be a bridesmaid, they were looking at venues here. There was no mention of a bachelorette party in Las Vegas or a wedding in another country. I also didn't think I'd be asked to pay for my own bridesmaid dress and shoes to attend 2 parties with a gift before the actual wedding. I tried to tell Betsy this was all getting too much for the bridesmaids and groomsmen, not to mention the guests even. She didn't take it well, and we've had a couple of big arguments. I want to stand with her at her wedding, but it's getting out of control. She's normally not like this, but I feel like talking to a wall with her. I'm just one of many to bring this up too. She doesn't listen or doesn't care, and it's causing arguments. She thinks I don't get it because I've never been married. It's going off the rails. Not the idiot, this is absurd. And kudos to you for being willing to raise this with her even if she's angry. As her sister, you might be better able to object to the escalating cost of this wedding, unlike others in the wedding party. It's beyond absurd. Just tell her that you're saving up for her 3rd one. I wonder if she feels like she didn't get the wedding of her dreams, plus the first marriage ending has made her go overboard and veer into a bridezilla. Hope he should sit her down again and find out why she's having such an exorbitant second wedding, and remind her that people's funds are not unlimited, and if she wants people to be at this wedding, she has to make it so people can afford to go. This is not a wedding, it's a damn shakedown of everyone they can get their money-grubbing claws on. Get as far away from this nonsense as possible. But don't sweat over it, OP. Water will find its own level. Your sister will soon see various guests opting out of the companion wedding event such that maybe it's not even viable for her to book those venues. My teen male interest is in medicine, and my dad is a doctor too, so I have a bit of good background. One of my classmates, let's call her Sarah, is irresponsible and tries to throw all the hard work to the others by lying and saying that she's sick and her seizures are not controlled, etc. Today we had a task-based subject where students were required to work together to solve specific questions. Sarah was on my team, and when I told her to solve questions 4 to 15, she suddenly started convulsing. I knew it was a psychogenic one and she made it up because her eyes were closed. Also, her movement wasn't synchronous. I tried to open her eyes during the seizure and she was closing them forcefully. After a couple of minutes she woke up and I told everyone in the class that it wasn't a real seizure and she was doing it for attention and escaping the dirty work. Also, I elaborated to everyone why it's not a real one based on the previous symptoms. Plus, when she woke up she got angry that I tried to open her eyes, and I told her that proves my point because in real seizures her consciousness would be impaired and she wouldn't know what I did. A couple of friends stood by my side to expose her. Some told me I was an idiot for saying she was faking it without apparent evidence. Am I the idiot? Edit, the teacher was holding her head so it didn't hit the ground, and I told her that my dad is a doctor and I know how to help someone with a seizure, and she told me to help her while she sent another student to the principal for help. My dad was a cop, so I feel like arresting you for pulling this BS. Sorry kid, but your dad being a doctor does not mean you have a bit of good background, LOL. You're a teenager. You are the idiot, by the way. Don't touch people. Once again, you are not a doctor. Agree. So what did you achieve? Embarrassing a girl so you could feel superior? And what right did you have to touch her? Leave people alone. You're not a medical professional, no matter what you want to be when you grow up. Please, mind your own business. Exactly, when he grows up. Hit the nail on the head. Kids gotta stop trying to be adults or this crap happens. Opie has enraged me with his arrogance and ignorance. I have family members with PNES, and it's clear from this story that OP knows absolutely zero about the subject. That poor girl will now be treated like a liar, which could make her seizures more frequent and intense. I, female 40, have been with my husband for 6 years, married for 2 years. He has sole custody of his daughter, Teen. His daughter has gone by her first and middle initials, EJ, since she was a baby. Everyone calls her that, her dad, other family members, teachers, friends, etc., etc. When my husband and I were dating, I asked what EJ stood for out of curiosity. He told me and I thought her name was so pretty, so I started calling her that. She didn't like being called that, but I guess she got used to it after a while because she had let me. Well, last night stepdaughter had some friends over, and I asked her to help me with something addressing her by her name. Her friends gave questioning looks, and the stepdaughter said, "Guys, that's me." A few laughed, saying, "Oh yeah," and kind of joked about forgetting her actual first name. Well, after her friends left, she got upset, ranting to her dad about how he doesn't even call her by her first name, so she doesn't understand why his wife, me, gets to, and how she doesn't even feel like her first name, she feels like an EJ. After her rant, she ran to her bedroom and my husband got upset at me, saying I should just respect she prefers to be called EJ. I started saying how I just thought her actual name was so pretty. He said I'm honestly acting like an idiot refusing to call her EJ. So, am I the idiot? You thought, then you imposed without asking. You are the idiot, big time. There's nothing more personal than a spoken name. You completely disrespected EJ. Pretty is not a defendable reason. I'm proud of EJ for finally speaking about what she's endured. She minimally deserves an apology. It's not your place to decide what someone else is called. What if your stepdaughter just started calling you Dogface because she felt like it suited you better than what you prefer to be called? People get to decide for themselves what they want to be called. If she was introduced to you as EJ and clearly indicated a preference for EJ, then EJ is what you should call her. Oh good, the main character is here. 10 out of 10 top-notch evil stepmother story. You arbitrarily started calling someone a name because you liked it, not because the person did. You should have asked if she liked the name. The fact that your husband accused you of refusing to call her EJ suggests that you know she would rather be called EJ but ignore it. Of course you're the idiot, and you need therapy for your shocking narcissism and lack of boundaries.